This one's a little deeper, but I think it's important for all of us. It's a little more, uh, I don't want to say negative, but we got to be real about stuff. So, and I, I can't front about stuff. So, oh, that doesn't work. Let's do this one. Cool. So, veteran investor Jim Rogers says the USD supremacy is at risk. He predicts governments outlaw crypto to maintain control. So, if you guys have been spending any time paying attention to the news, not just with the stuff that's going on with Russia and Ukraine, but there is more chatter, quote unquote chatter, about regulating crypto. And on Twitter, everybody's like, "Yay, regulation! That's what we've been dying to see." Call me a cynic, but anytime and I see talking heads or influencers or people in power saying, "Oh, thank God, finally we get some clarity on rules and regulations," that's CYA. That is people covering their ass just to say, "Oh, awesome, yay!" Like they just don't want to get thrown under a bus. Believe me, behind closed doors, they're like cursing. So Jim Rogers is a veteran investor. He's awesome. I highly recommend reading and listening to some of his stuff. Investing legend Jim Rogers is issuing a warning to investors that the dominance of the US dollar is at risk and that crypto assets may be ultimately outlawed by the government. In a recent interview with Economic Times India, the famed co-founder of Quantum Fund says that the US dollar doesn't appear to be the same safe haven it once was because the US government's willingness to sanction entities is pushing other nations to consider adopting competing currencies. So what this is about, and this is something that is pretty important. So as you guys may know, we put some sanctions on Russia. And one of the ways we imposed sanctions was we essentially debanked them, right? We made it kind of impossible for a lot of them. There's a lot of exemptions and ways for them to still do business. We're still getting oil from Russia and things like that. Even though they say they canceled those contracts, they're still getting oil from Russia. They've turned a lot of things off. They're keeping a lot of things on, a lot of exemptions. But one of the things that they've been doing is that we did is we basically debanked them and crushed their currency. And it's like, I think the gut reaction is, yay, good guys, woohoo, go get them, or whatever, depending on whatever side of the issue you take. I'm not a judge or jury of any of this stuff. But it has a big effect, and that's actively controlling somebody's economy is something that we've never done before as a country. We didn't do that to them. We didn't do that during World War II to the Germans. We didn't do that to Mao. We didn't do that to Stalin. We didn't do this to anybody. We never actively manipulated an economy to tank it, right? And so let's see what Jim Rogers says. He says, I own US dollars partly because when turmoil comes, people look for safe haven. They think the US dollar is a safe haven for historic reasons. But what is happening with the US dollar now is the end of the US dollar because an international currency is supposed to be neutral. But in Washington, they are not changing the rules. I don't know what that means. Now, if Washington does not like you, they put sanctions on you and you cannot use US dollars. So that's the thing. It's not necessarily sanctions because we've put sanctions on enemy, quote unquote, enemy countries forever. But the fact that they cannot use US dollars is a big deal. So many countries are starting to look for a competitor, China or Russia or India or Iran, Brazil. Some countries are starting to look for a competing currency, and they should, because Washington does not play fair anymore. The seasoned investor also says that while digital assets will be the new money, he believes that governments could eventually outlaw, tax, and regulate them to assert their control over the market. This will absolutely happen. I think we all know that. And it's not necessarily a negative. There are some positives to that. My view is that if the bulls say that, crypto will be the new money. I know that every country in the world is working on computer money now, including the US. If the US has crypto money, but the US is not going to say this is new money. This must be copy pasted from a foreign. This is just not bad English. Governments like control. Governments like monopolies. This is true. I do not like it, but that's the way governments are. The governments do not want to lose control, and therefore they are not going to let us do what we want. And that's actually a really important point that I see is that you have all of this stuff going on, and this incredible promise of crypto and NFTs and blockchain technology, and most of it's true. But we're also talking about large government entities, not just the US, every country. And to think that they're going to give up some kind of control to you or me, so that we can do what we want indefinitely, is kind of a fever dream, right? They're going to lock down control. Of course they will, or at least they will attempt to. And that's also why I try to get as many people. I preach the gospel about crypto and NFTs, because now is the time to get in. Now is the time to do it. Now is the time to learn it, find out how this stuff works, so that as things come our way, one, you can navigate it, and two, you can profit from it, right? This is the birth of the internet 3.0, right? If you had launched a company in the dot-com boom or a little before, you had the same type of opportunity, right? So I think it's a big deal. And to support this, I wanted to kind of share some articles all within the last day or so, that kind of support this. You've got the government ordering to study the digital dollar, other cryptocurrency risks. This was news here in the States, March 9th. So was that like Friday, Thursday? President Joe Biden signed an executive order on Wednesday requiring the government to assess the risks and benefits of creating a central bank digital dollar, as well as other cryptocurrency issues. So they've been doing this already. Like, this is not a surprise. This is sort of like an official statement that they're doing it, but they've been doing it now. Really, I believe it started last year. In fact, right here I have, this is the research and analysis, money and payments, the US dollar in the age of digital transformation, January 2022, from the Federal Reserve. And this is their entire document on their research into the digital, central bank digital currency. If there's one thing that scares me more than anything, it's probably a central bank digital currency. It is the ultimate way to control a population. It's full surveillance, right? Full surveillance. I don't want to get too deep into it, but once they can tie your digital currency into who you are, what you do, and where you purchase, they have an on and off switch for anything you purchase or anywhere you go. It scares the hell out of me, but that's just me. In fact, let's see what else I got here. Yeah, so this is tied into that. This is kind of tied into the dollar and the digital currency. So you see, you've got the USD, the actual fiat currency, starting to be at risk. And it's been at risk for a while, but it's starting to kind of come down. And there's more of a dependence on crypto, and all of this studies on crypto, and all governments want to have their own central bank digital currency. And here's the research on it from the US government, from the Fed, which I know it's not technically the federal government, but it's pretty much the federal government. And then this is just a really interesting thing that I saw. And I've seen reports like this before, but you have friendly reminder to make your payments this month. I have a friend who is a repo agent. Tesla hired him to go get this car. The whole process was pretty cool. Tesla located the car through GPS, backed it out of a parking stall, unlocked and honked it all remotely to make it easier for my friend to hook it up. They mentioned once FSD is better, they'll probably just have the cars drive themselves back to Tesla in this situation. Technology is amazing. This is true. They do have the technology to do this, and they're working on fully automated, automated vehicles. They do it with trucks. I've got family in the trucking industry, and they're automating trucks as well, right? Full automation. You're not going to have a driver very soon. So what happens is you just kind of put two and two together, and this is no secret. They talk about this openly. Is that once they have a central bank digital currency, they can actually have full control over stuff like this, right? So if you don't make a payment, well, how would they know? Well, they can track it all. It'll all be digital. So you'll know, the government will be able to know that you didn't make a payment. You'll have a social credit score. Your credit score will go down, and they'll be able to take your Tesla and drive it back to the dealership. So kind of scary stuff. I try to keep everything positive, but I also want to be real. And this is, to be straight up honest, this is the kind of stuff that got me interested in crypto in the first place back in the day. You know, I believe in self-sovereignty and trying to do everything I can to stay and remain free. You know, but so I wanted to share this with you guys. If you guys have a chance, you certainly should check out the Federal Reserve report. Now, there's nothing negative in here. It's glowing, right? Of course, it's just like, oh, it's so amazing. But you know, you have to understand the technology to understand what they really want to do. So let's see what we got. We got carrots. Regulation and legislation was always going to be the final boss. Term used by Bankless for crypto. Yeah, 100%. And there's not, by itself, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think we can all agree that there's some shady people in the industry right now, and that some laws would actually help. I don't know how much it would help because every country has its own laws. So just because the US creates regulations and laws, it's not necessarily going to stop people from other places siphoning your cold wallet because you blindly signed something, right? It's you know, it's a I don't know how much of a solution it is versus a band-aid. But with that said, you know, something is probably better than nothing. I just hope it gets clear. I'll tell you this, the thing that I hope, and spinning it in a way that I can actually explain, regulation and laws would help us as a business because, well, for instance, most honest business people and companies don't want to break the law, right? It's kind of a thing. No, most people don't want to go to jail. The problem comes when there aren't no laws. And so you have to do your best guess of what is legal. Okay. So for instance, everyone, like, this is the year 2022 is the year of the DAO, right? Decentralized autonomous organizations. And you're going to hear a lot of promotion about DAOs, and you're going to hear some amazing founders talk about DAOs. I'm sure I'll be talking about DAOs because, you know, you guys know that we're slowly building one on the back end for adult fantasy. The problem is that once you actually get into the weeds of it, there are no rules. There's no law. So it's up to you to decide how you want to legally form your business, because these are still legal entities. So you have to do all the legal paperwork to incorporate a DAO, most likely, depending. And some of those DAOs, depending on what the DAO does, also has to submit to the SEC. But there's no laws or regulations that tell you what you can and can't do. So it's up to you to determine that, which is difficult. It's difficult in a multitude of ways. The first being, you don't want to break the. How do I make sure to not break the law, right? But also provide as much value as possible. On the second side, on the flip side, you're also competing in a market with other people who either have a different opinion about what the law could or might be, or just don't care. So in the short term, their deals are actually might be better, right? This DAO or this crypto token or this NFT might just be like, oh my God, it's going to pay me for this and that and the other thing. And that's so cool. Whereas if you actually look at what the laws are now, you might say, well, that seems like it's going to be illegal. So I'm just not going to do that right now. You know what I mean? So it becomes very difficult because you're like, I just want to do things the right way. How do I do it the right way when I'm not sure what's acceptable and what's not acceptable? Another example of this would be NFTs do that all the time as well. With in the NFT space, there is a launch coming up. Do I have it? Did I hide it? Let me see if I, you know what? Let me stop sharing. I'm going to see. Let's go to sidebar it and sidebar this. A little bit of a sidebar here. Let me see if I can find this. I was looking at this morning. There's an NFT project coming up, and I think they launched today. And I love it. And I'm like, man, this is so dangerous. Yeah. So check this out. Hold on, give me 1 second. So this is Degen Dogs, new NFT project. I believe it's launching today at some point. They just updated this. That's cool. Looks awesome. I actually like the pixelated image. It's based off of the Nouns projects. If you guys are familiar with Nouns, they just aped the page, which is fine, whatever. But here's what they're doing differently. And at first you're like, man, that sounds awesome. And then I'm like, dude, I don't know. So forget all of this stuff. Um, they're going to do a DAO, they're going to do a club. But here's the interesting thing is that they combine NFTs with DeFi, right? Oh, okay, cool. We're going to do now is what we're going to add some more DeFi finance to it. Okay, cool. So what are they doing? Well, what they're doing is they're basically paying you to own it. So the degen dogs, they're going to be sold via auction. Single dog being auctioned at any time. Auctions are held here. They're going to be on Polygon. And again, do your own research. I have no idea if this is legit or not. If you guys jump into this, that I'm not buying it, but that's just on me. I have no clue who these founders are or if this is real. It could be a total scam. Do your research. I would do some more research before I jumped into this if you choose to. Just my humble opinion. When each auction ends, the auction is settled and the dog is transferred to the winning bidder. Cool. That sounds cool. What's wrong? What's so possibly illegal about that, or something that could get the company, these founders in trouble, depending on where they live, because I don't know the rules for all countries. Well, when they start to do DeFi, the WETH proceeds from Degen Dog auction are immediately and automatically invested in DeFi and start earning yield for dog owners. Nothing wrong with that. I believe that's fine. That's totally cool. The WETH is invested in the best yield value on idle finance. Totally fine. Idle tokens represent the vault shares are issued to Degen Dog's contract. Distribution of the proceeds is as follows. So here's the problem. And this is just from my knowledge, right? Distribution, 50% for the past, 50% for the future. I'm not totally sure what that means. 50% is streamed back to past dog owners. 10% is immediately donated to a charitable DAO. Remaining 40% goes to the charity where it's controlled by the DAO. So they want to pay you to hold the NFT. So that sounds awesome. And it may be legal where they are. The problem, of course, is that the SEC has already come out and said under no certain terms that if you do something like this, you are going to run afoul of the SEC. Like you are making your NFT an investable product, right? It becomes an investment asset, which is a problem. So they've also said not to fractionalize NFTs specifically because of the same thing, right? If I own a specific amount of that NFT, then that isn't considered an investment, which could be a problem, right? But again, there's no law yet. So is this legal? Maybe right now. Who knows how this goes? And I'm not crapping on Degen dogs. I don't know where they are. It might be completely legal where they are. I'm just saying that you really need to be careful of investment opportunities. There's also there was a project called DAO Turtles that ran into that, where they were just blunt. They were like, "We're going to pay you," and OpenSea took them, deplatformed them. Like nobody wants to be in the crosshairs of the SEC. So for the holders of DAO Turtles, I mean, obviously it's the NFT market and it's decentralized, so they can still there's plenty of exchanges that they can sell on, but it becomes a problem if you can't get on OpenSea. So I would be careful about stuff like this, and this is also why, this is also why you have this move to start to regulate crypto and to maybe put the fear in normal people's minds to say, hey, the crypto Bitcoin and Ethereum is bad. That's like where the bad people use the dark web for money, blah, blah, blah. Use our central bank digital currency, which is safe and proven by the government. And we'll take care of you. We'll totally take care of you. Dusty says, gotta drive a nice old truck. Can't use our computer magic to drive out. That's true. Absolutely true. I think you're actually onto something. I believe that in another, and this might not be for a long time. It might be 25 years, but I believe combustible cars, even old used ones, will eventually go up in value as collectible cars. The collectible car market that doesn't have chips in it will most likely explode in the next 10 to 20 years. Like I think you're going to see people who are, I mean, certainly if I walked out one side, if I was somebody who didn't pay my bills and walked out one day and saw my car driving off by itself, that certainly would make me want to hop on a Craigslist or I don't know, a used car site and get something that couldn't do that. So we'll see how that works. Carrot says, yeah, the SEC won't like the expectation of profit. Exactly. It's expectation of profit. Like you have to be so careful. Like, and it's so easy to fall into the trap too. There's so many ways, just behind the scenes with us when we're talking about projects and adult fantasy. And as we were coming up with what we're building now, it's like, yeah, we could break it down and do payouts and all of this. And then you do research, and you're like, yeah, we can't do that. I learned the hard way with Voxodeos. I one of the reasons I purchased Voxodeos when it first came out as an NFT was because they were like, yeah, 2% goes back to the holders. And they had to come out like, like everyone bought, and then they had to come out and say, in the middle of their minting phase, they had to come out and say, oh, by the way, our lawyers have told us we can't do that. We'll figure out something else. And their mint stopped because most people like me were minting because, oh, you get a return. Like, that's cool. Can't do that. It's considered an investment, return on investment, right? Expectation of profit, as Carrots says way more eloquently and more professionally than I. J-Raw, this is how Dapper does it. I bought some UFC NFTs not too long ago by loading up USD onto my Dapper account and bought NFTs. Awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that for sure.